For our first session today, let's welcome Shirin Soyuz, teacher educator and e-moderator at the British Council.
Hi everyone. So let me share my slides. Okay. Hi everyone. So welcome. And well, it's a pleasure for me to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are attending this session. My name is Shirin Soyuz. I'm a teacher educator for working for the British Council, and I'm a moderator in the Partner Schools network. I'll tell you more about this network. So you see the website of the Partner Schools. I'm based in Istanbul, Turkey. In this session, I will share our small-scale initiative on teacher activity groups on remote teaching. So in the partner schools, we work with teachers, and we had an activity group on remote teaching. One of those activity groups was on assessment during remote teaching. So in this session, I'll tell you more about what we did and how we worked together with teachers on teacher activity groups. So as you know, the unexpected curriculum change caused by the coronavirus pandemic has had an impact on the design, implementation, and assessment practices for teachers all around the world. You can see UNESCO statistics data regarding the total duration of school closures by COVID-19. As a result of school closures, there have been emerging educational needs and implementation challenges. This move is called not homeschooling, not online schooling, but rather COVID-19 schooling, and the online educational experiences are viewed as form of crisis management. On the one hand, during this emergency period, teachers have identified real opportunities to improve their online teaching skills. On the other hand, as a result of the sudden loss of social engagement with our students, it's been difficult to deliver lessons that promote active learning and also to assess and evaluate our students remotely. So, the purpose of our research and initiative was to provide teachers at the British Council's online support for schools hub a professional development opportunity on remote teaching through teacher activity groups, which would then have the potential to widen their online teaching skills. In this activity, I worked with a small group of teachers from partner schools, 25 teachers from 5 countries. Partner Schools is a community of schools that offer a UK curriculum leading to exams such as O-Level, IGCSE and A-Level, and administered in cooperation with the British Council. These schools are located across South Asia, the Middle East, North and Sub-Saharan Africa and Colombia. And I'm one of the moderators of the Partner Schools and the facilitator of these teacher activity groups. So first I would like to tell you more about what a teacher activity group is. As I mentioned, we had a teacher activity group on assessment during remote teaching. I'll tell you more about the findings of this discussion with our teachers. And I will share some recommendations about the text. So if you would like to organize a teacher activity group with the teachers that you are working with, you may find these ideas useful. So the idea is based on the following recommendations from the British Council Partner School Review, which was conducted in 2020. The purpose of this review was to carry out an evaluation of the partner schools and also to provide feedback on how well the partner schools is meeting its goals as a community of practice. And one of the goals is about engagement with teachers. It's important that partner school develop ways to work more directly with existing partners, including schools, school leaders, and teachers. And we wanted to provide teachers with a CPD opportunity instead of short-term and one-off training interventions. So, as we all know, professional development is a central element in the improvement of teachers, and the literature suggests that professional development is actually more effective when it is seen by teachers to be relevant to their job and when it's focused on the impact on students and when teachers are actually sharing, learning, and collaborating with each other and when they have the ownership of their own learning process. I'll tell you more about the teacher activity groups, but before that, I would like to just check if you can all hear me. So, and if you have ever organized a teacher activity group before. So if yes, could you please type in the chat? So if you have organized, if you have attended a teacher activity group before, can you please type in the chat? So I would like to see what your experience is with teacher activity groups. Okay, so let me continue with the teacher activity groups in general. So here you can see the key features of tags. The tags are peer-led support groups which teachers can join as part of their professional development. The idea of tags emerged with the British Council in India. So you can see the key features, and here on the right-hand side you will see a document called Professional Development through Teacher Activity Groups. Actually, I started with this document by learning more about the tags, and you can see a review of evidence in this document. It's a publication by the British Council, and the vision of the tag is based on community of practice and constructivist learning theory. So these theories stress collaboration through dialogue, and learning and thinking is not an isolated but a collaborative activity. And another framework that I'd like to refer to is the community of inquiry framework. This framework has three sub-dimensions. So here you can see them: social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence. Social presence is about building a community. So this framework is built for online education, especially in higher education, and it can be applied in different settings. So imagine in an online course, social presence is about building a community, forming identity, a sense of belonging. Cognitive presence is it refers to critical thinking, inclusion, reflection, constructing meaning. And teaching presence is defined as the design, facilitation, direction of a course or community. It's about giving feedback, communication channels. So we try to make sure that all of these presences exist in the teacher activity group sessions. We had 4 sessions. On our first meeting, we discussed our syllabus with teachers, and they were asked to provide input. These kinds of programs have been shown to be more successful. And each week, teachers worked in breakout rooms and discussed these issues in small groups. And we focused on assessment during remote teaching in one of our tech sessions, because this was a concern, and teachers really wanted to have one session on this. As you know, assessment can be considered as one of the most challenging parts of the transition to remote teaching for an institution or for teachers if they are used to face-to-face or written exam, as the control shifts to the students, and it's actually a paradigm shift. So we need to reconsider our teaching and course delivery as regards to assessment. So during these sessions, teachers shared first their challenges and good practices, and also offered suggestions to each other. So we asked these questions to our teachers, and we prepared summaries, and I will share the mind map that was prepared after this session. So let me share this on a bigger screen. So I will share my screen again, so you can see the results of our discussion. So let me see. Not tags organized by the British Council, but I've organized and been part of teacher communities. That's great, Anna. So in these meetings, as I mentioned, we had discussions around assessment during remote teaching, and one of the questions was the types of tools and formative assessment methods that they use, techniques that they use. So teachers, mainly about online tools, they use poll tools and some apps like Plickers, some LMS type tools like Edmodo, Classera, some tools to create quizzes, and Jamboard and Padlet are also used for as form of formative assessment. And some formative assessment ideas that they shared included open-ended questions, thumbs up and down, daily and weekly quizzes, in-class discussions, interactive PowerPoint quizzes, mind maps, student journals, short essay questions, portfolios, group projects, and entry and exit tickets. And the main challenges they had, firstly, included credibility of the assessment process, including the transparency, fairness, inability to differentiate, or inability of asking different and various kinds of questions. In terms of proctoring, um, parents getting help from parents or parents' lack of knowledge, students being reluctant to start their cameras, managing students' behaviors during online assessment, and dealing with large classes, and also connectivity issues. For academic integrity, the common challenges included identifying students' work, plagiarism, and reliability of responses. And time management was also reported to be an issue because marking teachers reported that marking was more difficult when compared to face-to-face classes. And attendance was also one of the main challenges, late or no submissions, students' lack of interest, less attendance, and some students not even attempting the quizzes online. And the solutions, they shared all of these in small group discussions, and they shared with their summaries in the main room. uh, for example, sending reminders, reminding students on WhatsApp, through email, staying connected with parents, engaging with the parents, not just informing them, posting materials ahead, and doing all assessment online, during the class, but asking students to switch on videos while doing the assessment task, dividing the class into smaller sessions, and using some external software such as Turnitin and Safe Assign software, and shuffling questions, and to minimize the time limits, so timed tests, quick quizzes, um, when cheating doesn't take place, or structuring or class timing to meet when parents or guardians be available to monitor the students. So for the formative assessments, so they mentioned that they use formative assessment more than before. So projects, research based assessments, asking hierarchy of questions to assess and develop the understanding, giving more but shorter tasks. So not just i- dividing class into smaller sessions, as I just mentioned, also dividing the assessment tasks into smaller parts was reported. Assigning group PowerPoint presentations, asking open-ended and high-ordered questions, timed and open book tests, and having one-to-one discussions with the students and observing the students. So these were some of the challenges. So it was a quite useful session because teachers had an opportunity to share their best practices, and the feedback results showed that teachers enjoyed the sessions, so they gave us really feedback. Their feedback revealed that the sessions were useful. So as you can see here, we asked what was the most useful part of the teacher activity group, and so they shared their feedback with us. So the best part was, I think, to the ability to share ideas with a global audience, and also um, get lots of feedback and solutions to the challenges that they experienced. And they also, the other good part, good result was that teachers would be interested in designing their own text in their school. So nearly 83% of the teachers would like to continue teacher activity groups. So in terms of capacity building, so this can be the next steps for teachers and for us as well. So we also continued discussions in the discussion forums. So that was the best part of having an LMS. So asynchronous communication was also part of the text. So here teachers continued sharing more ideas in the discussion forum. Overall, it's clear that teacher activity groups can have a positive impact on several dimensions of teacher competence, and it's a powerful tool for collaboration, collaborative professional development. And participants were actually insisting on continuing tag sessions after the fourth session, which showed how much they all enjoyed and learned. So, on the other hand, it's necessary to have more evidence on the impact of these sessions on student learning. Some other recommendations include having one session on planning. So that's what we did in the teacher activity groups. We allocated one session for planning and communicating the principles of the text, because we wouldn't like teachers, we didn't want teachers to expect one trainer to present. So we underlined the fact that it was going to be a collaborative CPD activity, and teachers took part in the design of it and also in the delivery of it. So teachers presented, and reminders should be sent before each tag session. And the joining instructions need to be clear, as well as the other logistical details, and the agenda, the timing. These are other important details. So engagement was important. So we operationalized engagement in three areas. So participation, interaction, engagement refers to participants participating, attending the session regularly and participating, sharing ideas. Cognitive engagement is about putting effort in the session with preparing for the session. Sometimes I shared pre-reading activities, so it was a kind of flipped classroom activity for the teachers. So they prepared something before the session, and we engaged on the common concerns. And performance engagement was about again taking an active part, and regularity of, and also giving feedback to each other. So um, another recommendation is about having teacher generated content. So this must be the focus of the session. So this can be students' work, textbook extracts, or some good practices from their own school context. And it's important to allocate sufficient time during the meetings for questions, for Q&A, for sharing. I allocated 1.5 hours for the whole session, and for the small group discussion, half an hour, and sometimes 45 minutes, and then plus the whole group discussion. After 4 meetings, teachers would like to have 2 hours. So we had fortnightly, so we had sessions every 2 weeks in the first 4 meetings. Now we'll have teacher activity groups once in a month for 2 hours, and we'll continue the same structure. The structure was first based on the questions, pre-reading and questions before the session started. And during the session, we discussed the questions that were shared in the discussion forum. And after the session, we shared our summaries and reflections. And I think it's important to make sure that the whole process is not so time consuming, because, or n- it shouldn't require too much preparation for the teachers, otherwise they may not be willing to participate. So there needs to be a balance, I think, in this activity. So we would like also teachers to reflect on it. So teachers are already spending a lot of time in front of the computer, so it's important that it should be kept manageable so they can continue. So one final comment. I think also this is one thing I would like to continue for the future. The tools are important for teachers to reflect, or it's important to provide teachers with some some tools to set goals for reflection and action planning when teachers think about what they would implement in the classroom and reflect on the activities that they try out. So um, after each session, we ask participants to reflect on the session, but reflection may be a novel process for some participants, and the relevant skills need to be developed over time. So tools may help facilitate this process. So one other thing is that tensions may arise between these expectations imposed by this external structure and a desire to give teachers to work autonomously. For example, reflection or participation in the discussion forum is like a requirement, but on the other hand, it should be a volunteer activity. So once teachers enjoy getting connected with other teachers and have a sense of community feeling. If this is built, I think then teachers will be willing to be a part of it. So that's the best part of having a community. I think this is the most important part, building this community feeling. That's the most motivation is the most important um, 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 way to promote to encourage teachers to take part in the teacher activity groups, and also for the sustainability of this activity. So that's all for me for the teacher activity groups, and I would be happy to answer your questions now. So just let me know. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to now hearing more. Okay, so some great questions in the comments. Luisa, you are muted.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon, for your presentation. Now, here we have some questions. It's from Ana Maria Hurtado. Um, she asks, how many teachers participate in this experience and where were they from?
So the first, when we launched this activity, thank you very much, first of all, Anna Maria. For when we launched this activity, 200 teachers applied to take part in the teacher activity group, and it's in the end, in the last meeting, we had, well, consistently 25 teachers participated. So in some sessions, some teachers came and then they disappeared, but overall number was around 25. And these teachers were from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria. There was one teacher from Colombia, but because of time difference, she had to stop. But I shared the recordings with them as well, and Uganda was another country. So these are partner school teachers, so we are a closed community, so we announced this within this community. And usually when I tried a similar activity before, the participation, it's not very easy to have this over 4 weeks. So there might be some teachers coming and leaving the session in between the sessions, but it's important to keep it sustainable with some motivation, um, and I think I'm going to answer your next question as well, if we have time, Luisa,
Yes,
about
yes, we have
motivation.
time. We have another question. It says, teachers are these days overwhelmed with their teaching load. How difficult was it to motivate them to join and to persist in attending a TAG? I guess their participation was voluntary. How did you foster engagement?
First of all, we promoted this activity in the partner schools, and we promoted this as a CPD opportunity, because usually we have one-off training sessions, one-off webinars, or short-term one-off training interventions. Instead of that, we wanted to promote this as a continuing CPD opportunity. So teachers might be asking the questions, what is in it for me? So we communicated the purpose very clearly, in the sense that this will be an opportunity for them to, if they would like to organize teacher activity groups in their schools in the future. So this was one of the benefits. Plus, they will learn about these some important areas about how to motivate their students, how to engage them, and how to assess them, how to make sure the safeguarding was important in the remote teaching. So we mentioned the the areas that we may have during the activity groups, and also we mentioned the certificate was another motivation. So after attending all sessions regularly, teachers were going to get a certificate. And then after a while, teachers enjoyed it so much that they, for example, after the fourth session, I shared feedback form, and teachers really enjoyed being a part of a community, because every 2 weeks they met a group of teachers, so we got to know each other, and they asked for more, and now we decided to have once in a month. So this was great for me. So they wanted to stay in touch. They even wanted to continue, even though I wasn't offering this. So, and they asked me if I would be willing to organize more activity groups. And as you remember, 80% of those teachers would like to organize teacher activity groups that in their school. So in the next sessions, probably we'll have more sessions on how to design a teacher activity group. We'll explore this together. So it's good to stay in touch. So it's, I think, one of the other factors that they were not controlled in the discussion forums. I put them in the small rooms, and they were free to discuss around the questions. Of course, we had a structure, but there was not a moderator delivering, transferring information. They were just sharing their ideas with their colleagues in a relaxed way. So they really enjoyed being in such a um, guiding, but also informal chat with their colleagues from different countries. So I think these were all motivating factors. Um, so teachers saw the benefits of it, and now we'll continue these activity groups, and especially on the assessment one. Um, After each session, teachers prepared something and they presented in small groups. So it was great that they prepared something. They allocated time for preparation. So I can say that they were quite motivated. So Ines, I think if you're part of the partner schools, that's the only way you can join. So if you're working in a school, which is part of the partner schools platform, but there are some other teacher activity groups maybe online. So British Council has one community for teachers, so maybe there will be some opportunities in the future.
Okay, and what about I mean your first or your favorite solution when teaching these kind of remote classes?
Luisa, can you ask your question again, please? So one solution when teaching remote classes?
Yes, your favorite tool, your favorite
Okay.
yes.
My favorite tool, I think I can recommend this Kogel that I shared with you, the mind map. So this is quite a user-friendly tool to create mind maps, to create brainstorm. And after a brainstorming, or when I put teachers in small groups, I ask them to discuss some ideas and then prepare a mind map to present to the other groups. And I use this so I can just share the link in the discussion forum. It's one of my favorite tools, actually. I use it a lot in online remote sessions. So it's very user friendly, and you can download it as a PDF and also as an image, and you can actually share the tool link, and also you can also invite others to contribute. So I use this a lot in small group discussions, and to summarize a meeting as well for different purposes.
Okay, thank you. Now we have our last question for this session. What about the experience with African teachers and the remote teaching?
Of course, connectivity is one area. I worked with teachers from Rwanda last year for 6 months. Connectivity was an issue at the beginning. We had challenges, and this session as well, we had challenges with the connectivity related issues. And after some time, if the instructions are clear, it didn't it wasn't a big deal. So in this session we had lots of teachers from Uganda, Nigeria, Rwanda, and they contributed. And in my previous experience with teachers in Rwanda, after some time, after a few weeks, of course with some guidance and video tutorials if needed, using screen casting tutorials, with some scaffolding, it was easy. So of course, in all parts of the world, connectivity can be an issue. So it wasn't a big challenge for me.
Well, thank you. It's time to finish this session, so please stay or come back in 5 minutes to start our next presentation. Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Luisa, and thank you, Anna Maria, Ines, for your questions, and for the rest of our audience. Have a great conference.